Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
All right. My name is Marina Pavlov, and I'm the president of the Florida Association of Nonprofits. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad you're all here.
Glad to be here.
Good. Thank you for answering. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the Florida Association of Nonprofits because our organization does a lot more than webinars. We have a certificate in nonprofit management, which is our signature program, and we have membership. We were actually founded back in 1990, 29 years ago, and we were organized by some community leaders who wanted to build the capacity of nonprofit organizations. And they thought if the nonprofits were strong, they would make life better for a lot of people in Florida. And so our mission is really to improve the life of people who are living in Florida, even if they're living here only for a couple months in the winter months. There are 52,000 nonprofit organizations in Florida, and we provide the programs that have the acronym of HEARTS. And we thought that the HEARTS was appropriate because the heart is what represents the passion behind the mission. We have helping, educating, advocating, research, training, and savings. And Lynn, would you like to speak a little bit about those, and then we'll start the program.
Okay. Helping, we have assistance if you call in. Educating, we do great programs on every aspect of nonprofit management and also how to start a nonprofit. Advocating, we visit Tallahassee at least once a year, talk to our legislators and make sure that nonprofits are being well represented and doing good things. And we have a great history of getting good things for nonprofits through advocacy. We're always researching new resources for you, including the newsletter once a month that has tips and highlights. And we offer training like this, webinars, seminars, teleconferences that help with your knowledge, nonprofits. And we have savings to preferred partners, sharing of resources and preferred partners like LAN Infotech that offer discounts to nonprofits and discounts to our members, providing all the services that nonprofits need.
Yes, and I want everyone to know that in February of next year, we're going to have our nonprofit day in Tallahassee, so you can begin to sign up for it in December. We'll be announcing it, what the exact date is then. And now we're going to introduce the class.
Attendees?
I'm sorry, somebody was talking to me.
Okay.
Well, you want to introduce the class? Glenn.
Glenn, I mean, I can see all the attendees. You want me to call them out? Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay, so ladies first, Barbara, and I don't know if we can hear Barbara.
Barbara Armentrout, I'm here.
There you are. Okay, hi, Barbara.
I'm just keeping it on mute so you're not hearing me try to eat my lunch.
That's
excellent.
Good. Jose?
Present.
Okay.
Introduce
Very
yourself.
shy. Introduce.
I'm sorry. Jose Manzer, Doc Solutions, partner with the Florida Association of Nonprofits, and also provide discount services to members and educational services like these. We've done some of these webinars, and here to support.
Excellent. Thank you, Jose. I see Damien.
I don't think he's got a microphone.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Betty just joined. I don't see a microphone either.
Hi, Betty. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They'll be silent.
So we're ready for the presentation.
Wow, great intro. Thank you. Let me just make sure you can see my screen, the Tech for Social Impact. Are you all seeing that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening if you're listening or watching the replay. My name is Glenn Benjamin. I'm with a company here in South Florida called LAN Infotech. We're going to talk a little bit about tech, as that's the title on there. We're going to talk mainly about cybersecurity, business resiliency. We'll talk ransomware. I'm going to promise to keep the technical jargon out and speak, real basic, so everybody can understand. And I think we've got a small enough of a crowd that if you have a question, go ahead and call it out. If you can unmute yourself. If you're not talking, please mute, especially if you're on a cell phone. So appreciate that. We're going to get started. And just get my screen working here. Okay. So, and I'm going to be, sorry?
The chat. Also ask questions through the chat button at the bottom of the screen.
Okay, very good. And if I don't pay attention, Lynn or someone, just let me know that I missed a question. Very brief about our company. I mentioned LAN Infotech. We've been around for 10 years. We have 20 folks. We're based here in South Florida. We are growing very well, and I'll show you that in a moment. A proven track record, and when it says supporting local community, they really mean that here. We want to make sure our community continues to grow, prosper, and thrive. We do not want any of you or any of your other companies or supply chain that you work with get impacted by some of the stuff that I'm going to show you here. And again, this is going to be best practices, very untechnical jargon is how I'm going to do this. We've gotten a bunch of awards, Small Business of the Year. You can see we're also a Microsoft partner. We'll talk about that in a bit. But on the very bottom left, we're extremely proud that the South Florida Business Journal listed us as the 5th largest growing technology company here in South Florida. So we're all very proud, and it takes a lot of hard work. And we appreciate our clients, those of you with FANO and others. We appreciate your help, and hopefully we can continue to earn your trust. Affiliations, of course, I have to put FANO here on the bottom left. You'll see multiple chambers that we belong to. We're trustees at most of these. The one that I'm going to more or less talk about for a second here is on the top right, called InfraGard. That is a joint venture with the FBI. It also has Homeland Security. And a lot of those 3-digit acronyms that we can't say live here are all based out of D.C. We get alerts on a regular basis. They are alerts not out for the general public. So we have an understanding of what's going on with other parts of the world, other parts of the country, and the region. Very important as we start to get more data about a lot of different things that we can share, and I'm going to do some sharing toward the end of the presentation that maybe will raise an eyebrow or two. And by the way, again, if you have questions or if I'm going too fast, please let me know. We do a lot of tech services. I am not going to break this down. I don't expect a lot of folks to understand all the different things about technology. That's our job. Nonprofits, that's Marina and Lynn's job. They are the experts of that. We're the experts in tech. All I'll say is if you're not sure what you need to do, either contact me directly or go to Marina and Lynn, and they can get you in touch with me. So let's talk about technology. Are you getting the full value? Whether you're a startup, a nonprofit, a small business, a large business, technology has really evolved, so it impacts virtually everything we do, whether it's supply chain, whether it's storing data, whether it's allowing you to operate in the cloud, and we'll talk about the cloud in a moment as well. This is all impacting, and if you're not sure what you're doing, that's okay. Don't be alarmed. There are people like us that can assist you. Again, engage when it's appropriate. I'm going to pause for a second. Do we have any tech questions? Anything in the chat box? Anything I can address? Otherwise, I will keep moving on. I will take the show of silence that no questions, so let's keep going. Office 365, I'm assuming most of you use that product or service, whether it's from a personal level or professional. there are some changes that are coming out. You're actually going to see it simply called Microsoft 365 in the very near future, probably by the beginning of the year. It is simply the Office suite of products that Microsoft offers, letting you do different things like Word, email, Excel, et cetera, all those specific product sets. However, security is top-notch on this. There are a lot of free emails out there, whether it's Gmail, Yahoo, et cetera. If you use it, please don't put any critical corporate data on that. There's no protection on that. Here with Office 365, there is. So if you're already using it, I'm assuming most of you at least have an account, we can help. We at the LAN Infotech side can help you with an evaluation. One of the issues when dealing with Microsoft, if you don't know exactly what they're doing or how they count things, bring in an expert. Don't do it on your own unless you really have someone with a solid IT background working with Microsoft. They can get very complicated, so be careful. Ask for help if you need it. We can review licensing. If you have licenses, whether it's Microsoft Office, could be server, could be anything that Microsoft, or really any service out there, let us help you with your licensing piece. What we can also make sure, well, first of all, I want to make sure everyone's aware that if you are a registered nonprofit, you get up to 10 users per account at no cost. And again, if anyone's not aware of that, please speak up now. I can elaborate further, or I'll keep moving on. So every account gets 10 users. So let me ask Marina and Lynn, I'm assuming you're taking advantage of that right now?
Not yet. We're still on the old Microsoft Office. We need to do that.
Okay, let's do that yesterday.
Soon.
Yeah, so let's talk yesterday or the day before, right? So, yeah. As long as you're certified and registered, you're eligible. So very important, if you're not taking advantage of this as a nonprofit, again, get to Lynn or Marina and they'll get to me or vice versa. Doesn't matter. Let's get this done. Any customers that are doing business in the cloud? Again, I can't talk to any of you at the moment, so I'm assuming some of you may have ventured into the cloud. Not sure what you're running, what you're trying to enable, but in case you weren't aware, as a certified nonprofit with Microsoft, you can get up to $3,500 a year in donated service credits. So you can put the servers up in the cloud, you can run storage, you can run multiple cores. There's a lot of different things you can do, and you have a credit of $3,500 a year. Any comments from the audience? Don't hear anything, don't see anything, so I'll continue to move. Again, if you're thinking of moving to the cloud, we'd love to support you. I should mention, if I didn't already, that LAN Infotech is what we call a Tier 1 partner. So we report directly into Microsoft, and we get support from them directly. So we are very good when it comes to working with the Microsoft flavor here. And certain restrictions apply. Yes, I hear a voice.
Glenn, there's a question for Betty Bauman about how does she get a free account. So we just tell her that you'll contact her later, or she can contact you later.
Right. My contact info is at the very last slide, but I'll be very generous and say gbenjamin@laninfotech.com. But you'll see that at the end. But yes, Barbara will talk whenever it's convenient. Appreciate that. Okay. Again, certain restrictions apply. The attorney's got to make us put that kind of disclaimer in there, but. Again, certified, registered, nonprofit, you're in great shape there. This is something that comes really close to home with us. Here at LAN Infotech, we can assist you with a free consultation to find funding opportunities with grant writers. I know we've done a ton of work previously with the folks here at FANO. We can obviously work with you, all the attendees, and anybody else that's associated with FANO. There's, according to what we have, are over 140,000 grant makers. So once you kind of give us some idea as to what you're looking for, we can zero in and help you find what you're looking for. I'll ask Lynn or Marina any comments, because I know we've worked with you for a long time on some of this stuff. Anything you want to add?
No, not really. We have a very successful program, and people have been able to find grants and apply for them and then actually get them. So thank you very much.
Yep. Yeah. So again, we're here to help. By the way, this does not have to be focused on technology. It could be for anything that you're trying to establish. You're trying to build a laboratory inside of your campus. You need whatever it is to be successful in business. We can search on that. So don't focus just on technology. We'll help you with whatever your requirements are. I'll move on. This is now where we get to the meat of the presentation. What I was asked to do is really talk about cybersecurity and how to protect yourself. Everything you'll see in this presentation is available online. This is all open dialogue, best practices. I am not going to read each slide. Most of it should be common sense, but I want to make sure that you're taking advantage of this. We do a ton of work, as I showed you earlier, with Homeland Security. We're part of InfraGard, so we get a lot of this on a regular basis. The key program they talk about is Stop, Think, and Connect, which is what we all need to do as we start seeing all these streams of emails or phone calls or what have you. There's a hyperlink at the very top. You can click on that once you get a copy of the presentation. I'll leave this on screen for a moment. You're welcome to peruse. Again, I'm not going to read word for word. We're going to talk about passwords. It is so critical that in today's world that you've got something that's not easily guessable. Don't share it. Do not include name, pets' names, things like that. That's kind of obvious, and I'll show you at the end of the presentation what folks are looking for from other parts of the world, how they're trying to get in. Again, avoiding common words. You can replace letters with special characters. That's always a good one. Real important, keep your operating system, your browser, your computer, server, all of that critical infrastructure updated. If that's something you don't know how to do or you're uncomfortable, let us know. We'll have a discussion. From a personal perspective, have an open dialogue with friends and family. Let folks know, hey, I just saw something that doesn't seem right. Be sure to share it. Don't put the link in if you're going to email it to somebody, but hey, this doesn't look right. Did you send this to me? It's okay to ask or pick up the phone and call them. That's always good. Make sure you are using all the privacy settings that are available. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And I think we all get probably every day some offer online selling us something. And if it really sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. So be extremely careful. We're going to dig in a second here on some of this stuff as well. This comes from the U.S. Computer Emergency Readiness Team. Again, all of this is available online. I'm just giving you some snippets. It says here that about 44% of small businesses have been a victim at $9,000 per attack. I'm going to show you where that number is much, much larger in a few slides. Almost 60% of small businesses don't have a contingency plan. I think I mentioned earlier, I'm a certified business resiliency manager. So part of my world is what if? What if that happens? What if this happens? Do you have a plan you can refer to? You have it in a 3-ring binder on your shelf. You have it copied online in the cloud. And have you tested that plan, let's say, once or twice a year? That is critical stuff. You're seeing some repetition. Make sure your computer is equipped with antivirus. Spyware should be updated regular. Secure your internet with firewall. Encryption, which is kind of a techie word for protecting the data. So if somebody does steal your data, all they see are a bunch of ones and zeros. They can't figure out exactly what that is. And hide your Wi-Fi network. We'll talk about Wi-Fi in a little bit. Make sure your company or organization has security practices and policies. Don't just leave this to chance. Put something together that everybody in your company needs to know about. When it comes to education, make sure your employees or your associates are educated. We at LAN can help you with some of that training. We can also talk about testing vulnerabilities and such. Please hold your employees accountable. Make sure they use strong passwords and change them often, and you can drive that. Very, very important is data loss protection software. I will cover it very briefly where all of your data is backed up somewhere else. Don't back it up in your office on a separate drive. So if something happens to your office, all your data is lost. You want it protected somewhere else. And the rule that I use as a resiliency manager is you typically want 3 copies of your data, especially the critical stuff. You want it in 2 places, and you even want it on 2 different types of media. Yes, a flash drive, even digital tape is better than nothing. Be sure you're using at least multiple types. And we talk about protecting pages on public-facing websites, not just the checkout and the sign-up pages. You got to protect everything. We'll get into that in a little bit as well. This is a real busy slide. Again, I'm not going to cover word for word. This comes from a variety of sources, whether it's SBA, where they have some training material. They have the Stop, Think, Connect. That is real important. I've left that link there. I've even got the FCC, their Small Biz Cyber Planner, how to create custom plans. All of this is free, and if you can handle on your own, that's great. If you need help, you know where to go. I've even got the U.S. Chamber of Commerce here that's showing you best practice, securing networks. Again, I don't expect you all to be that technical. When you need help, raise your hand. Don't be ashamed. And someone, if it's LAN or some other company, is there to assist. This is real important. The dangers of public Wi-Fi. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands. We've all used public Wi-Fi over the course of time. This, unfortunately, my friends, is where a lot of the leaks and a lot of the hacks are occurring when we go to a Starbucks, when we go to an airport. And please never use public Wi-Fi at an airport. It is loaded with saboteurs trying to get in on your information. It talks about at the very top PII, personal identifiable information. That is your social, your driver's license, your address, your phone number, date of birth, all of those things. Never put that on a public Wi-Fi network. Never, ever. Because in many cases, this could be a fake public Wi-Fi network. And what they're literally doing, if you log in that way, is they're looking at your keystrokes as you type. They can peel that information apart in seconds. So don't use public Wi-Fi unless you use something called a VPN, Virtual Private Network, which again encrypts your data. The so-called criminal will only see 1s and 0s. This way, your information is, as it says, shielded and not generally available. SSL, Secured Socket Layer, that's another way of protecting your data should you have to use public Wi-Fi. Again, we're going to encourage you not to. For those of you that have mobile phones, and I can't even imagine who doesn't have a mobile phone nowadays, invest in an unlimited plan so you don't have to hit public Wi-Fi as best you can. And if you have no signal from the wireless carrier, I realize that's a problem. But invest in an unlimited plan. They're in the, I'm going to guess, in the $100 range, give or take. And this way, you just use the hotspot from your phone as opposed to using a public Wi-Fi that you may or may not know where it's coming from. Please never, ever, ever turn on. Please turn off sharing. Never use it anywhere on public Wi-Fi. I don't think I've ever used sharing at all. Something I would avoid, and check the settings on your devices to make sure you're not sharing across the network. Here at the bottom it does say, if your only option is unsecured free public Wi-Fi and you've got to get it done, know the risks, use the VPN if you have it available, but really try to limit your public Wi-Fi networking opportunities. I'm going to take a break for a second because I covered a lot there. Any questions in the chat, Lynn? Anybody with any questions?
Don't see any.
Okay, I'm going to move on. Preventable disasters, and some of this has nothing to do with hacking or the data breaches. Things break, physical damage. We live in Florida, a lot of us, or most of us. We know about storms, water damage. Things can happen, device theft, etc. This is where we're going to talk a little bit about backing up data right now. Damaging malware and viruses take up 7% of data loss. So the rest of this is about 90% human error. And what we do not want to see ever happen is you lose this data and you lose time to reconstruct it and basically your business shuts down. You're not making money while you're trying to put all this together. So what I'm going to do now is do a little bit of a shift. Stay with me here. Oops, I'm on the wrong slide here. We've all heard the term ransomware, and this is a report, again, on the internet, publicly available. I'm going to skip that part, and there's just a couple things I'm going to talk about here. And I assume everyone knows what ransomware is. If not, if you happen to cross a, let's say, a public Wi-Fi that you thought was public, or you got an email that was really an email trying to lift data from you, a phishing email, unfortunately, you may have to deal with ransomware somewhere down the road, and we don't want that to happen. So as you can see, it's a massive threat. An ITSP is what I am, an IT service provider. 80% report for, ransomware attacks against customers. The average IT service provider reports 5 of these attacks within their client base. The problem is bigger than we thought. And the aftermath of a ransomware attack can be crippling. 2/3 of the ITSPs report victimized clients experience a loss of big business productivity. More than half of the clients experience business-threatening downtime. I talked earlier about the cost of a breach. Even though it said $9,000 on the earlier slide, the cost of downtime is 10 times greater than the actual ransomware you might be hit with. So if it was a $9,000 ransomware payment, your real cost is 10 times more than that. I'm going to skip a little. I'm just going to do 3 or 4 of these slides. Only 1/3 of those out there were highly concerned about ransomware when the survey was done, I think last year. 90% of them think that you really all should be. So if you're not thinking about it, now's the time to at least get your thoughts together. This thing, ransomware, where the people will come and steal your data and hold it, you have to pay via Bitcoin if you don't know how to do that. Neither do I. I have no intention of paying any of this. But anyhow, 80% of the clients have been struck by some form of ransomware. Viruses, 63%, and over half have been struck by adware. It's continuing decline. I'm not going to give you tons and tons of numbers. But what this number basically tells us, about 1/4 of all the attacks that have gone on, we only hear about 1/4 of these. So those of you that may have had it and haven't said anything to anybody, make sure you're compliant with any federal standards, because at certain levels here in the state of Florida, you are required to notify the authorities. And if you want to have a private conversation, we can do that later. Human error is your common denominator. Phishing emails, like I talked about earlier, malicious websites, lack of end-user cybersecurity training. Very important. We can help train you, and we can talk about that later. I'm going to skip this entirely. I'm sure some of you have been to Atlanta in the past year or two, and last year they were hit with a ransomware attack. Only $51,000. They were down for 5 days. So it started on the 22nd, came back on the 27th. Officials had to request, 3 months later, June 6th, that they needed $9.5 million to replace equipment that was hit during those attacks. So the total cost, what started out as $51,000, was $17 million. Does that raise anybody's eyebrows? And again, I know I can't hear anybody. Lynn, anybody chatting for us here? Nope, no comments?
Wow. That is a lot.
That's a lot of money. And we all know about the city of Riviera Beach, which is just a little bit north of where I'm sitting. Their ransom was $600,000. There was one near Jacksonville called Lake City. It was about $400,000. But even though they paid, and some don't pay, by the way, City of Baltimore did not pay, and they spent millions and millions fixing it. The bottom line is, for what would have been very simple procedures, best practices, and yes, we can talk about cyber insurance in case this ever does get through. Look how much time they lost and how much money they spent. So, no comments from the audience, I'm assuming.
Oh, yes, there's a comment from Betty Bauman in the chat.
And can you read it, because I can't?
What I do with ransomware is immediately pull the plug off the computer before it infects my network. Is that fast enough? And that is
So the truth of the matter is, Betty, when you are hit with ransomware, and let's hope it never happens, the typical perpetrator has been in your system about 200 days before they initiate the attack. And the reason they're there is they get in somehow, but they don't say a word. They're sitting there idle until the right piece of information shows up in the system. Let's say you all got a big payroll, you won an award, you won the Publishers Clearinghouse, and you're getting millions of dollars. Guess what happens when the perpetrator sees it? They then seize your equipment, they freeze you. So yeah, unplugging is probably practical, Betty, but at that point, they got you. So then you have to make the worst business decision of any CEO. Do I pay ransom, or do I try to work around it? I don't have a clear-cut answer. It's going to be up to you all. And it also depends what data they got their hands on. So again, that's a separate conversation, Betty, we can have later today or tomorrow. But it's not going to be pretty. Unplug it, sure, that's fine. But either way, they've already got you. They've encrypted, in other words, secured your data, so you can't get in there without paying via Bitcoin. And if you pay via Bitcoin, is there a guarantee they're going to give you the money? Your guess is as good, or give you your data, your guess is as good as mine. And I'll pause for a second if there's any response. Anybody else?
Betty said, eek.
Eek, okay. Is that with 3 E's or 4? So,
3.
3, okay. So we're going to go to what I'm going to call, I'll call this the awakening. I'm going to make sure that you all can see this on my screen before I do anything. Do you see something that calls digital attack map, Lynn or Marina?
Yep, we got it.
Okay. This is publicly available. Everything I'm giving you is out there for you to use as you see fit. I'm going to simply show types of attacks, and this starts June 21st. Why? Because this line is really tall. We were getting hit really heavy that day. I'm going to show different types of attacks. It'll break it down, and don't get hung up on the type of attack. It is not that important. These are different colors showing what kind of attack it was, the amount of bandwidth in gigabyte that this is going through. Where you see the semicircle, that's between 2 countries, and you'll see the U.S. really popular here, as you can tell. You can see some globes up there as I start moving stuff around. You can even see here, and you can see, I don't know why I'm clicking here, between UK and China, but internal, but inside of a country, people are trying to attack people there as well. I'm just going to go ahead and start this. I may move it ahead depending how fast this goes. But this has about 4 or 5 years of data showing how attacks occurred, what types. This should start moving any second, yeah. I'm seeing it moving. I don't know if you all on screen can see all that. Do you see movement on the screen?
Yes, we see it.
Okay,
yeah.
So yeah, it's progressing, and you can see here on the top left, the dates are June 1st, it's now June 22nd, and you can see how this is highly organized and highly coordinated between all these countries. And you can kind of see where they're focusing on, this whole country called U.S. They are going after us in a very serious way. When I look at this, I don't know if any of you remember a movie from a long time ago. Look at all that orange, by the way. Look at how that all is cascading. Anybody remember a movie called War Games? Starred a very young Matthew Broderick, where they were doing the simulated war against all the countries, and he broke the code. Anybody remember that? Or am I really dating myself and I'm old as dirt? Is that how it works? Okay.
No, it's not that. It's just that we don't watch TV.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's cool.
Jose remembers it.
What was that?
Jose said yes.
Did he? Okay.
He remembered.
So this, unfortunately, is real. This is not fake. These are countries going after themselves, going after us, so on and so on and so on. What I'm going to do is advance this just a little. I'm going to try to show the past week if I can. You know, obviously what this is, you know, these are people that are, you know, nefarious. They are not good fun people. I'm in October here now. That want to steal our data. They're going after us. Even if they don't steal the data, they want to block us from being able to do business. And again, you can see this cascading all over the place, and I'll let this run for another minute or so. But this really emphasizes the point that, folks, it's time to take action. You know, putting your money into data under the mattress doesn't really work very well. By the way, this is a very light day here on October 15th. I don't know why, but it'll brighten up here in a second. So, you know, the idea is, you know, think about what you all have at risk. It may not be all of your data. It may only be certain ledger information. It may be customer data. It may be the people that you get donations from. And if you prioritize, hey, that's the stuff I got to protect first, we're fine with that. You know, if somebody steals your Facebook pictures, it's not that big a deal. You'll survive. But if somebody takes the mission-critical data that will take days, weeks, or months for you to recover, that's not good. So, you know, this moving chart, you know, hopefully awakens everyone here to say, let me do something. Start somewhere. And if it's just protecting your passwords, doing your backups, following these processes, that's great. But if you're leaving stuff out there that is not protected and it's taken and we get that nasty gram that says, we got your data, you got to pay us 3 or 4 Bitcoins to get this released, that's not a conversation we all want to have together. That's really, actually I do have one more slide, I forgot. I got to put my one slide back up here that says, that's me. So that's what I had for the presentation. I tried to make this fairly quick, not very technical. You can see I am here with LAN Infotech. I am a certified business resiliency manager, which basically gives me the right to ask what if about 1,000 times. And my phone number, email, yes, you can hit me up on Twitter and Skype, it's fine by me. But what we want to have is, you know, a real open dialogue as to what you're doing. And this will be private, of course, we don't need to do it here. But we can have that separate conversation with Betty or anybody else, Barbara, that, you know, has some questions and what are the next steps. And with that being said, do we have any questions, Lynn, from the audience? You can open up mics or hit us up in the chat.
This is Marina. Is there any warning or is there any like malware or anything that can spot when somebody's going to steal your data, the ransomware?
Yes, I mean there are notifications. There are 2 questions I will ask, and I'll do the same thing with Barbara later. The 2 questions I'm going to ask are, how long are you willing to be out of service if you're hit by something? And something could be anything. It doesn't have to be malware or ransomware. How long can you tolerate? If you tell me I can deal, Glenn, with a day or 2, I'm fine. It's not as critical. If you tell me it's an hour or 2, it's a different conversation, much more in-depth. And then the second question I ask, how long are you willing to wait till I can restore all your data? So anything that I've backed up, if you tell me, Glenn, a day or 2, it's okay, I'm out fishing it down in the Keys, don't worry about it. Or if I need it back within 15 or 30 minutes, we can do it that way. So, excuse me, there are notifications, Marina. Yeah, there are indicators, but sometimes these guys get in silently, especially through the phishing emails. And if we don't have the proper updated software, the latest and greatest of whatever needs to be done, this can slip by you. So, you know, if we need to, we can scan your equipment to see if they've been sitting in there for 100 or 200 days, because many times they're sneaking in and nobody knows about it. So, lots of best practices. That's a long-winded answer for maybe.
Betty Bauman had another question. She's still using Office 2003. Is that more vulnerable?
Okay. Let me ask one question of Barbara, and you'll have to interpret for me.
Betty.
Please tell me she's not using Windows 7. And I'll let Barbara type.
Betty. Her name is Betty Bauman.
Is it
Oh, and she's using Windows 10. Yay!
All right, good. So that's excellent. 2003, you're technically still, I think you're still compliant, so you're in good shape. Windows 7, for anybody that's too ashamed to admit it, will actually go end of service, not end of life, but end of service January 14th. You will no longer get patches on any of that software. So Windows 7, you've got 60, 75 days, whatever it is, you've got to take action now. But I think, Barbara, you're okay for the moment. Let's talk about other things when we get online.
Glenn, you keep calling Betty Barbara.
Okay. I see a Betty Bauman or a Barbara Ammertrout. Which one is it?
Betty has been asking questions.
Sorry, Betty.
Barbara's
my apologies. I owe you a cup of coffee. My bad.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm terrible with names. That's why I have to put my name at the end of this because I'll forget. What other questions, concerns, comments? Did I go too fast? Do I need to repeat anything? And you guys are looking at the screen, so I'll trust that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Damien asked what VPN software is good.
Wow, there's a couple dozen. And this is more educational, so I'm not going to be pitching any products at all. But there's a variety, and believe me, we can talk offline, but there's a good couple dozen that I would use, especially on your mobile devices. You can put VPNs on your smartphones, tablets, etc. Make sure those are in place. I probably should have covered that earlier. So, and Damien, we can talk offline as well.
Okay. And Betty also asked, is there anyone who can help her upgrade G Suite that funnels emails into one?
Probably. I'm not sure if we would do it, but I would certainly get a partner involved that deals with G Suite. We're primarily Microsoft. The good news about being a nonprofit is we'll get that to you at no cost. And I know G Suite is also no cost. So if you're looking for something with a bit more security, Microsoft has it. But certainly we can talk, and I'll find the right person that can help you with G Suite.
Thank you, Glenn.
That's it. We're good?
Well, thank you for everybody for attending. We thought it was very informative. And we'd like to thank Glenn for his expertise. It was really wonderful. If there's no more questions.
The Certificate Nonprofit Management Intensive is going to be not this weekend, but next weekend. So if you want to attend, or if you know anybody that wants to attend, please get the word out. We still have about 4 slots left.
It's in Bonita Springs. It's a resort. So you can bring your significant whatever and let them have a good time while you learn all about nonprofit management. We also have a really cool meet and greet coming up at the Ritz in Bal Harbor, which is next week.
The 14th.
So everything is online on our website. Keep up with what we're doing. We got lots of good things going on.
And like us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Like us.
We like you.
How about Twitter?
Thank you, Glenn.
Do you have a Twitter account too?
Do we have Twitter?
We do, but we don't use it.
Okay, well, I do. You can see it on my screen here.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much. If there's no more questions, the meeting's adjourned, and we really appreciate your attendance.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, I'm going to find my person. So we hang up this. No, speaker phone.